All right, President Trump, well, let's just say he's not happy with the Fed raising rates. Roll tape.
The problem that I have is with the Fed. The Fed is going wild. I mean, I don't know what their problem is, but they're raising interest rates, and it's ridiculous. The Fed is going loco, and there's no reason for them to do it, and I'm not happy about it.
Joining us now, Sean Spicer, former White House press secretary, currently the spokesman for pro-Trump super PAC America First Action. Sean, the president obviously never shy about anything, even criticizing the Fed. I was just waiting for him to say that old Powell is a bad hombre. What do you make of it?
Look, I think he understands the power of being able to borrow money at a cheap rate and infuse economic stimulus into the economy and how it affects people's lives. And so as interest rates rise, it's going to affect the ability for people to do everything from home improvements to buying additional homes to things that, all those things that stimulate an economy. And so it rolls downhill. It affects how the government borrows money and the amount of debt that we accumulate. It affects how most people borrow and spend money, whether it's an auto loan or a home loan. So I think he's been doing a lot for this economy to get it growing, to get interest rates, to see interest rates go up really impacts the bottom line for so many Americans. And when you've got unemployment going down, economic growth going up, you don't like to necessarily see something that's going to throw a monkey into a monkey wrench into the system.
I agree with you 1,000%. As the architect of that, it's this economy, this economic boom is his baby, right? I mean, he engineered this, and there's no doubt about it. And also, I think it's even more about how does the Fed have the right to dismantle this, to derail it, particularly as gains are just now getting to folks who haven't seen any for so long. But people were saying that, you don't do that. You don't push the Fed around. I even heard folks out there, Sean, saying that the Fed would do the exact opposite. Now, I think that would be nuts, that to really crush the economy out of spite. But what about the idea that it's not presidential?
I think anyone who's waking up after 2 years and trying to understand that this president's not really trying to figure out how to abide by historical norms and protocols has been under a rock for the last couple of years. Look, he's going to communicate directly with the American people. He understands that the Fed's an independent body. He appointed Chairman Powell himself. He understands the role and nature of the Fed, but I think that doesn't mean he has to sit silent and allow them to enact economic policies that he doesn't think are good for the American people. And frankly, I think he wants the American people to understand where he's coming from and how these actions will affect the policies that he's trying to enact to better their lives.
I got to go in 30 seconds, but quickly, a lot of big spikes across the board for key races. What do you make of Republicans in this red wave?
Well, I think Kavanaugh was a huge factor in allowing Republicans, conservatives, independents, and even some right-leaning Dems to understand what's at stake.
Right.
And it made a lot of people who don't traditionally vote in a midterm election or who focus just on the candidates to understand the real big picture. There's a difference between a Republican House and a Speaker Pelosi House. There's a difference between a Republican Senate and a Senate controlled by Chuck Schumer. And the last couple of weeks have made that crystal clear.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, it's astonishing how quickly it's turned around. Sean, always great talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Charles.